What's going on, everyone? This is Mitch with SC Weather. Hope y'all been having a great Monday. The video today, we're going to talk about the wild swings and the models, and still talk about the potential for 1 to 2 storm threats at the end of the month here as we get closer and closer to it. The last week really has potential to have maybe multiple storm systems. I'm not going to say major winter storms or anything like that. The potential for some storm systems for the East Coast, whether that's nor'eastern, big time major winter storm for the northeast, mid-Atlantic, Washington, D.C., you guys, maybe areas of North Carolina, the upper part of southeast, not sure. But there is definitely looking like a good chance of a storm system or two for the last week of January. And as the pattern shifts, it really looks like we have enough cold air for maybe areas to get winter weather or significant winter weather who haven't seen it in a while across the East Coast. So we're going to talk about that. I want to say something really quick. People are talking about the polar vortex and everything. Guys, just because the polar vortex splits does not mean, or gets disrupted, does not mean we get an Arctic outbreak here in the United States. That's just not always how it works. Sometimes it splits and it affects the other side of the globe, which means Russia, Asia, maybe Europe gets really cold air, and we just haven't got that this January. And you know, people were talking about it happening. I was thinking there was a chance that it was going to affect us downstream here in mid to late January. I can tell you, it does not look like it's going to happen. So we're going to talk a little bit about that before we get super deep in this video. Subscribe. It's an awesome way to support me. It's much appreciated. I'm very active on Twitter, Facebook here, links here. Very, very active on Twitter, and I love talking with you guys. Leave a comment. And like the video, share it, turn on the notifications. It's very much appreciated, the support from you guys. So, as mentioned, we're going to start this off with a bang here. We're going to look at the European ensembles, the EPS. So, there's a pretty strong signal, right? This is about around the Midwest on this for some kind of winter weather. This is the latest European ensembles here. So, it'll be new ones tonight. But the symbol goes, this goes all the way through about the 1st or 2nd of February. So, pretty strong signal. And I'll just back it up to about the end of January. Even that goes all the way down into North Carolina. The European, which I'm going to show the operational run, actually shows a significant ice storm for parts of North Carolina, and a pretty decent winter storm for areas of the Mid-Atlantic up to parts of the Northeast. But the important thing to look here is the ensembles. You got a mean of 6 inches around Washington, D.C., 8 here in New York City, Philly 6 to 7 inches. You flip to the basically the Northeast. Here we go. 7 inches in Boston. This is a pretty good signal for some kind of winter weather here, and it's about to get very cold in the Northeast too here in the coming weeks as we close out January. 7 inches in Boston, New York City. So, and obviously the interior Northeast is always favored. I mean, it's the coldest time of the year climate-wise, so always favored. So we're going to talk why it's showing this and the impressive European model they showed today. And we're going to talk about how the GFS backs this up, the operational one. But before we get any deeper, 8 to 14 day outlook for temperatures, still showing below average temperatures for the eastern coast for most of it, besides Maine up there. But it's not as impressive as it was, say, yesterday when I made the video. They backed off. The chances have decreased for below average temperatures for the last week of January. And we look at the chances for precipitation has actually backed off too. So now it's saying a chance to be drier, a low chance to be drier than normal in parts of the southeast. This is going to change a lot. The models are struggling. It seems like they're always struggling. And we're going to show you that really quick. So this is the basically where you have ridging and troughing on the ensembles here on the EPS. So we get to this weekend. Got a little bit of a ridge building in the Midwest. You keep going. It kind of shifts east, but then it kind of dissipates and goes away, and then you kind of get it building back out to the west, and then you have some troughing right here digging, and you have a favorable setup for the East Coast for some kind of storm. It's the 28th. This is next Thursday for some kind of storm threat. Because you have troughing, got low pressure, it gets a chance to ride down here the jet stream wherever it sets up, somewhere in here. Maybe it gets out over here in the Atlantic, North Atlantic, bombs out, turns to a nor'eastern. Maybe it just rides along here, gives the mid-Atlantic, parts of the Washington, D.C., Virginia, West Virginia, a winter storm. Maybe it digs deeper and we get enough cold air influence supplied in just enough for some kind of winter storm in North Carolina, Tennessee, maybe South Carolina. I doubt it. Really, really doubt it. But if we go back and look to the previous run, and we're going to back it up here. For instance, here's the southeast ridge digging. So it's not much difference here. It's actually a little bit more stout, but what gets more impressive, we can't see this, is afterwards. After this, how the wild swings. Now the ensembles are wanting to show in the European that it gets below average big time temperature wise the last few days of January into February, when the last run from overnight showed above average temperatures. So it just doesn't know what it wants to do. So this is the operational European run, which was actually very impressive today. It actually let us all in the weather community cling to a little bit of hope, the little bit we have left for January for winter weather here in the southeast. But as we get through and we're going into Friday, we're getting into the weekend, have a storm system for Friday into Saturday night. It's almost like a southern slider, but it's just rain. Too bad we don't have cold air. This would be a nice system, but the cold air is just south. We have a good zonal flow going right here. Zonal flow is when you have all the cold air to the north and warm air to the south, and you don't have any dipping of the troughing where the cold air can dip south or anything like that. So that zonal flow sets up over the weekend. It's not a super warm weekend, but it's a little above average temperature wise. But what happens is you get into the early part of the last week of January, the early part of next week, and this is the first storm threat. It's been showing. It shows it going through, delivers to portions of the northern Ohio Valley some snow. Gets to the northeast, gives itself a chance, but then it fizzled out into nothing. But then another one reloads right here as we get into early to midweek of the last week of January. And look what this thing does. This thing looks like it's got a punch to it here. Throws a big time ice storm for portions of North Carolina, big time winter storm for Virginia with plenty of precipitation, and it delivers Washington D.C. a snowstorm. So and then that kind of fizzles out, and then you get another system right at the end of January that comes through, and you get another icing event potentially for North Carolina. Cold air damming still in place, so it shows it getting very active the last week of January still. Where and how much cold air is going to be in place? That is the question mark. The European model is a lot more aggressive with the cold air, and that is a classic cold air damming event and a big time ice storm in portions of North Carolina. And that's why the European ensembles are picking up all this for, let's see if we can get it back down here, all this for North Carolina here. Geez, here we go. It's flipping back and forth. But that's why it's showing this blue down here, because it's throwing that signal off the European operational run of showing some kind of signal of winter weather down there. So it's a very impressive run. The GFS kind of backs it up here. As we get into, we're gonna just run through the weekend. There's that first system right there. European and GFS very much in agreement with that. But here comes the first system that the European and GFS is showing. How much cold air it's showing, that's a question. But it moves through, delivers a moderate snowfall event for the Northeast, maybe even snow for New York City and Boston. But here comes the other system behind it. And it's there, but it's not near as impressive. It doesn't really get robust. It kind of gets sheared out, suppressed, depressed, both. And you kind of get that system out there, and then you're starting to get into the long-range GFS. And you almost get this like clipper type thing, but check out the jet stream buckling here. And you start to get this flow here, and then get rid of the zonal flow, and you get this weird system that kind of shoots through from the northwest and flows through here, gets off the coast, and maybe turns into a coastal low with enough cold air for portions of North Carolina and Virginia. So that's the same, another storm that the Europeans showed. So there might be 2 to 3 storm signals here at the end of January. Cold air is what we need, and that system goes a little haywire out in the Atlantic. Geez. But after that, it doesn't matter. It's just too far out for it to matter. But so the GFS ensembles, GEFS, strong signal for the Northeast guys. So you Northeast people, y'all might have a storm coming here at the end of the month. It's gonna be plenty of cold enough. We just need something to work out. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. Wild model swings will continue as we try to iron out the details of the last week of January. Thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all have a blessed night.